All right, bam, we're live. Welcome to day 53, and we are rolling along. What's the good news? I hear you. Yeah. So, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, for many of you guys, it has been fun, right? Every day we go over something new that you can learn to make a difference in the business. And when you're learning at this pace, to me, it's exciting. I know for some of you, like it's a challenge, it's a stretch, but usually that 21-day habit will break in. I don't know if you've ever done anything like this in the past, but for me, what I found is if I need to create a new habit, first few days obviously are going to be challenging and difficult. So the way you break that is it's the first thing you do, and you do it for 21 days in a row. And then all of a sudden, the mind just recognizes this is what we do now. Okay, that's the new plan. And then it becomes easy. It just becomes habit. You'll get up. So for instance, maybe like going forward, you start getting up an extra 15, 20 minutes early every day. And the first thing you do is you learn and implement something for your business, right? You could look at what was the topic that we put on here for the AI prompt challenge. And then you say, how can I adapt that, implement that? What could I change for my business? And there you go. And a half hour later, you're done. And then you move on and do your regular business. I say this, I put the challenge out to you. I dare you to try it. And then you message me if it didn't work. As long as you're committed, you record yourself doing it for 21 days straight. And then you show me, nah, Mike, this didn't work. I've tried it. I did it for 3 weeks in a row. Haven't found a person yet that it didn't work for, that if the person was willing to work for it. All right. So exciting news. I am going to be launching the Remodeler's Rule Book, I guess we call it. And we will go 100 days of every day bringing you something that is important in your remodeling business. And I'll show you the framework in a second here, because this is pretty amazing. I don't know anyone that's doing anything like this. First, I don't know anyone else in the industry that goes live every single day. All right, so we have to understand that that's a real issue. And so for those of you that show up, you're getting something that you really can't get anywhere else because no one else is going to do it. And I can tell you right now, it's because it's hard and it's challenging. And people don't like hard and they don't like challenging. So already you can start to see how easy it is to separate your business from somebody else's if you're just willing to do the hard and the challenging. Because the competition, they ain't. I guarantee it. So let me share the screen. One of the foundational principles here at the Remodeling Academy is we have a whole system, right? It's basically 6 pillars. It's what any successful business can implement, but I do tailor it specifically for construction. Within contracting construction, I niche it down even farther into remodeling. Okay, now some of you would say, but Mike, we're not a remodeler. I would tell you that you are a remodeler. Let me see if this is going to work. I'm only on one screen tonight, so bear with me. So hold on. I think that works. I just put this over on the side. I'm going to go here. Bear with me. We're almost there. Yeah, that should work. All right. So this is what the next 100 days is going to be based off. So this is my entire framework within the Remodeling Academy. So you take this, right? And once you implement all of this, all the headaches are gone. The money starts coming in. You're no longer self-employed. You're now running a business. All right. So we break down how to be strategic. This is this is how you beat your competition, straight up. For those of you that like to win, or for those of you that just don't want to lose, well, this is how you do it. I mean, this is the battle plan. Like, you put this in place, you will beat and be the number one depending on your market, if I do an analysis of your market for you, I could let you know how long it would take you to become the number one in your niche, in your marketplace. Some of you, it's attainable in probably a year. Some of you, it might be more like 18 months to 3 years. And really, it comes down because a lot of you understand that most of us, like myself, when I first got started in business, I hired a coach, but there were some things that I wasn't willing to invest in that held me back. And it was because I was cheap. Okay. And I had to do a lot of work personally, mentally, to get out of that mindset. I grew up in a place where I just thought that cheap was being thrifty and good. And it was how, because I had to work for all most of the, I had to work for a lot of my spending money, right? So I valued money in an interesting way, in a sense. So I never wanted to really spend it, and I would end up working harder because I wasn't being smart about how I was spending my money, because I wasn't investing it. I looked at things as more expenses. And what my coach helped me when I was growing my remodeling business, he's like, Mike, you got to invest in yourself and in the business. So that's how I got out of being self-employed and started the business, right? So these are the 6 components that we go over, and it encompasses everything. And yeah, I mean, you just can't lose. And here's what's interesting. I work with, I don't know, $15, $30 million companies. I work with a $300,000 company. And most companies just don't even have any semblance of these components structured out in their business. So you're interesting. Like some of you you're only where you're at based off of the resources that you're willing to invest in your company. Some of you just haven't decided to go all in on your business. I mean, like sell anything you can and just burn the ships. You're going all in the business. And when you do that, you'll see results down the road. Some of you keep saying, I'll invest in my business when I get the results. And that's backwards. And that's why it doesn't work. And that's why you always struggle, right? Some of you may have to go into the hole to make it work. I don't know your resources. I don't know, who you can talk to. If you need a loan, if you have to, maybe you have to sell something. Maybe your truck payment's too high. So maybe you got to go buy a used vehicle for the next year and a half and start figuring out a way to earn more money. And then you go and buy, if that's important to you, then you go and buy the thing. So, all right, let's get into it. Again, this is day 90. And yep, so I don't want that. Yep, so well, here we are. It's the 30-day AI prompt challenge. We're on day 53. And nope, all right, here we are. AI-powered job site succession plan. So this is interesting, right? The best thing you can do, the faster you can replace yourself. So I have a book called Fire, Hire, Retire, and this is what it's all about. It's about you stopping what you're doing, bringing in someone else to do what you do, and that's the fastest way you grow, right? Where a lot of you get stuck, and where I found I was stuck, was my first couple employees that I hired. They were never going to be able to be me or even a fraction. They were just guys that were looking for some basic work. They didn't have much in as far as the aspiration department. They didn't have a whole lot in front of the talent department. They were unambitious. They were, at best, they were lazy. They were just hoping to skate by. They had issues, and that's probably why they were in construction in the first place. And I wasn't looking to spend a lot because I was cheap, and that's what I got. When I got to the point where I started being frustrated, because I was like, I thought I was hiring employees to help make me money, and it seemed like they were just costing me money, and I felt like more of a full-time babysitter. That's when I really got it. Oh, that's what people mean when they say you need to invest in your business. And oh, that's what they mean when you get what you pay for. And oh, top talent, is only going to come over if you have a top offer and you run a top line business. And oh, so it all started making sense. But I had to go through the struggle too. So I for many of you, I hear you out there and you're frustrated and you're like, Mike, that'll never work. I've tried it. And I was like, well, you haven't tried it this way, or you gave up too soon, because it works. And I can get you a list of people that it's worked for. If you're usually, here's what happens, and this is what's so interesting. When I doubted something, and a lot of times it's not that you doubt me, you doubt yourself. Straight up. That's why you're looking for all this extra validation. You're looking for something that makes you go, I guess I can do it, right? Because you need it to be external. You still haven't bought in on yourself, and that's, to me, that's a lost opportunity. At the end of the day, you should be bought in on. You should place the winning bet on yourself all the time. You should say, "Damn it, I can do this. I will do it, and I'm going to invest in myself. I'm the winning lottery ticket. I'm going to take my chances." And unfortunately, what people do is they go, "Well, Mike, yeah, I mean, I know you helped that person over there, and well, we saw that you did that for them, and yep, I know you did. Oh yeah, I saw how much you've helped that business and where they. Well, but see, our business is just different." And what you're really telling me is you doubt yourself. You just don't believe in yourself. And that is what it is. So that's work you have to do, and you have to say, damn it. Maybe if I believed in myself, I'd have the results. So, all right, let's move forward. So if you're the main guy on the site every day, give me 1 second. All right. So if you guys are the main guy on the site every day, you're not really the business owner. You're still like self-employed. It's like you're the only thing that makes the business run. That's not a real business. If you take a vacation, the production stops. If you're sick, the schedule blows up. If you're busy on site, your sales and marketing aren't being taken care of. You can only be in one place at a time, and you're even stretched thin there. And most of you are probably don't even realize how exhausted and tired you are, and you're making mistakes all over the place, and you don't have your A game, and you're running late to appointments, and you didn't have time to make the vehicle clean, and then you're late behind getting the estimate, and you're late behind billing, and you're late getting the material order in, so now the job's running longer. I mean, the list just goes on and on. That's what I found was when I was in my worst place, I was the bottleneck for everything. And this was even better. I would be scared to take on certain jobs because like, oh man, I don't know if we can afford, to float all that. And what if the client doesn't pay and hangs us out to dry? And we didn't really make enough money on the last job. And, what if this guy quits? I can't do all that by myself. So if you're always operating from a place of fear, you're just doomed to fail. Instead, you have to operate from a place of power where you go, this is awesome that I get to solve all these problems. And yeah, I'm going to take on that big job and I'm just going to solve the problem. And there are going to be problems. There are definitely going to be challenges. Something is going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. And I'm going to have to step in and utilize my skill. But that's why I get paid. And that's why I'm in the business. I love what I do. And I'm a problem solver. If that's your attitude, the business turns around. So real briefly here, we'll go through this. Here's your AI prompt. Again, I encourage you to take some screenshots. It's probably the best way to do this, or reach out to me. I own a remodeling business in blank city, and I'm currently the lead carpenter and the main person running all my jobs, right? I'm the project manager, blah, blah, blah. So I want to step back from the daily job site work and train a replacement lead carpenter over the next 90 days. So help me write a detailed SOP that stands for standard operating procedure for running my jobs, using my own processes, including carpentry work, managing subs, keeping the site safe, and ensuring client satisfaction. First, create a questionnaire I can use to capture all my current methods, rules, and standards. Then let's turn my answers into an SOP written for a competent carpenter who will take over, include a 90-day training plan to transition leadership into the job site from me and to them without losing quality or control. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. So you can screenshot this, your job site SOP questionnaire. Before AI can write your SOPs, you're going to answer some questions, right? So what time does your crew, what's your start time? So we use 7 a.m. All right. In our area, you could get noise violations if you were working earlier. So guys could, if I had to meet guys for some reason, we would meet around 6 somewhere, but work started at the job site at 7. I have shared with you, I did have one gentleman that a couple of days a week, he would take his daughter to school in the morning because the way his wife's schedule and him worked out. So he would show up closer to 8 some days, whatever. Like, that's one person. You can make accommodations if you have a really good team. And what's the daily cleanup schedule look like? What is your, like, are you wrapping up cords? If you're leaving tools at homeowners' houses, anything that has a battery, the battery should be disconnected. Anything that's connected to a cord, and it should be disconnected from the wall, right? So just in case the 5-year-old gets away outside of his parents' area where they're watching him and goes into the job site, he won't turn on the saw. He might grab a hammer and knock over a ladder. You can't, but he's not going to get and turn on the saw. Okay. So those are things you have to be aware of. That should be in there. Communication, like, how do you update the client? What's your communication chain? How does it work? So for us, it was Lead Carpenter is the one that has communication on site. And then Lead Carpenter, when in doubt, reaches out to me. But the way they reach out to me is they have to come to me with a couple solutions, and they have to already have thought through the solution that they think, and they have to explain to me like the positive and the negative of their couple solutions. And then it's a joint session where I help them uncover the best answer. I don't give it. See, I don't become the answer man. I just become the reassurance to build their confidence so that they become the answer man. All right. It's a whole different way of operating your business. And a lot of you have become, because of ego getting in the way, you love being the answer man. At first, it's really cool. You're like, hey, I got somebody calling me. Hey, this person thinks I know everything, so they're always calling me. That's cool in the beginning when it's one person. There ain't no way that's going to scale when there's 10 people. All right, so what info do you give the subs? How do you communicate with the office? All those types of things. His text message, phone calls. Typically phone calls are good for quick stuff. Text message is nice. Maybe a quick text message, say, hey, let's talk for a second. But for those of you have to get in on and off the phone. Okay. Email in construction is challenging for guys on the site, in my opinion, to respond to emails because you don't have a laptop. Now, some of your lead partners will take a laptop on site, but reality is that's challenging. And so if you don't understand a thing about business, for all you email keyboard warriors out there, well, I just email my guys. Well, I mean, are you asking, have you ever worked on a job site? Is email really the best way? I'm not saying you don't communicate sometimes in email, but it may not be the best thing. Now, some of you might want to look into Slack. I know some people that come from a corporate environment are into like a Microsoft Teams or something like that, but when you want to think ease of use, and those things are complex, complicated, and you want to get away from, in my opinion, the Microsoft ecosystem altogether. You want to, right now, Apple makes things so simple and transparent and easy, and you can move from one device to another. And to me, you're just making things way harder if you're running Android and running Microsoft all the time. I would consider switching. And I know some people want to fight over that. Whatever. It's not that, at the end of the deal, again, you get to be a roadblock in your business if you want to be. You don't have to be like, oh, I love Apple. You just have to say, damn, it's fucking efficient. It's easy. And man, it streamlines things. And if there's enough challenges in this business already, why are you making it so complicated? And then I'll hear this, well, those devices cost more. Yeah, they do, because they work better. So yeah, and aren't you a business? So invest in it. Anyway, it's funny. I've coached and helped a few companies, and there's several that embrace the Apple ecosystem, and usually it's a stereotype, but usually they're more well-run. They do better quality work. They're more efficient. And the professionalism across the board is at a whole nother level. They're willing to invest in the company. They get results. And yet, if I come across a company that's standard Android, what I tend to find is they're cheap across the board, and that's why they're struggling, and they just can't get out of their own way. They're always looking to save a nickel instead of trying to make the next dollar, right? It's just, whereas some companies like, man, how do we make another $100? Not how do you spend your time there. Sure, you want to look at some cost savings. I'm not saying you don't, but your energy needs to be in, how do we make more money? Not if your weekly budget is always, and your planning sessions are always like, how do we cut costs? How do we make it cheaper, guys? Man, you got problems. No, the main focus is, how do we drive sales? How do we boost revenue? And how do we become more productive? That's how you make things cheaper, is being more productive. All right. Anyway, enough of that. Focus on some quality control, right? Find out how they're going to inspect the work. What's the process for approving subs, and how do you document changes and defects? You got to have a change order policy. right? That's the number one thing. It needs to be gone over in the contract phase. That way it's not a surprise when it comes out on the job site. For those of you that have, so you see this in the Facebook groups all the time. Guys are complaining, we had this thing come up and I brought it up to the homeowner and we want to charge extra and they're saying it wasn't in my thing and now and it's a big argument. Well, had you had a discussion on day one when you sold the job and said, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, there are times where something comes up on a job that we're just unaware of. We do our best, we're professionals, yes, but we didn't build the house, so we don't know what it's going to look like. So there are times where something happens. And in those cases where it was overlooked, it wasn't as part of our scope, you can see that it wasn't a part of our scope because no one would have expected it, then that requires a change order. And here's how they're handled. First thing we do is we take a minute, we estimate what it's going to cost. And this is how we do it. It's based off of an initial, it's a full price figure, like it's $800. And if for some reason there's a bunch of disagreement over it, then we switch over and it is a flat rate hourly. And here it is, plus materials, markup, and overhead. So you can roll the dice, but either way, that has to move forward. And you're going to have to sign off for it and pay for it, and we move on. So we always did a flat price up front with a processing fee for the change order because it slows up the whole job. And change orders are to be signed and paid for before any other work. So if a problem arises at 9 in the morning, everyone's contacted, and literally within 2 hours, everyone should know about what it's going to cost and how, and there are times where that runs out, but most of the time you can figure it out. It's an emergency. You figure this out rather quickly, and then the homeowner goes, fine, here you go. Here's the $5,000. I've signed it. Move on, and we keep the job on schedule. Talk to you guys about how they do the material management, how they order the materials, who signs for the deliveries, where the materials stored, secured, what's your process like that. Client experience. How well is your lead carpenter going to be able to communicate? You have to teach them communication skills if they don't already have them. You have to get them enrolled in some sort of a program, right? So maybe you come through us for that, but they need to learn job site etiquette and client, the client experience, let's call it. If you've noticed, the Disney is really big on this. Everyone at a Disney park is really focused on having the customer have a pleasant experience, and everyone in your company needs to have that. And for a long time in the industry, carpenters and laborers are bitter people. They're angry, right? And they bring that to the job, and then they bring that negative life that they hate their life, they hate their job, they hate their girlfriends, they hate their parents, they hate their neighborhood, they hate their vehicle, they hate this job. And if that's who's on your team, man, good luck. No wonder you're struggling. Like, get rid of that cancer, okay? Find people that are positive, and then help them understand that this is how we communicate, and this is the process that we walk our employees and our homeowners through. Part of this 90-day schedule, right? The first 30 days, you shadow, you document, all right? You got to start writing up what you do, and you have to help the lead carpenter who rides with you. Literally meet you at the house or meet you on the job at your office. And you show them, hey, this is what I do. So I get up an hour early every day. And part of that day is I look at this. I look at any messages that have come in. I'm checking the weather. I'm seeing what deliveries are supposed to be coming. I'm seeing what materials are needed to be ordered for this job or the next job. What appointments do I have? Who hasn't gotten back to me from leads, right? Like, you have to have a whole dashboard, and you show them how you do all that. And then boom, this is how I make sure I have a checklist. So I make sure I have the right tools and the right materials. And then boom, we go to the job site, right? And then this is how we do that. And anyway, so after that 30 days, then you start letting them do a little bit of the leadership, and you're side by side with them, right? And this way they can ask, as they do it, they ask you questions. So the first thing, you're doing it, they watch it. The second time, the second 30 days, they do it with your assistance. You're there to help them at any point. So it keeps it moving. They get a task, they start doing it, they encounter a problem. Hey, boss, how would you handle this? You ask them, I don't know, how would you think I would handle it? What do you see as the possible solutions? You see what kind of reasoning skills they have. And then if for some reason their decision is outside of what you would like it to be, you do a slight pivot and you say, hey, had you thought about trying it this way? And then you share from your experience that you found that this works better than that. And then you give them that lesson, and then you let them go ahead and do it. And then you have a conversation later. Hey, what did you think about the way that was handled? Did you see how that? Good. So now you know in the future. So that's the next 30 days. And then the 30 days after that, they run it, right? And you're just checking in. And you're like giving them the wings. Okay. Now, for some of you, if you're not getting through jobs fast enough, your guy might be having to stay with you for this might be a 6-month process. If you're the type of guy that can't get a kitchen done within 6 weeks, it's taking you 3 months, or it takes you 2 months to build one deck for some reason because you're always running behind. You don't order your materials ahead. You run to the store, they're sold out of this. You're like, I guess we can't work today. Then you're gonna have to stretch this out. But if you've got your business down to where you're pretty efficient, you can get through in 90 days. Some of you might take 6 months. So you get better as you go. So why this works, it saves your sanity, it keeps you so you have less hours on the job, protects the quality, and frees you to grow. So anyway, guys, that is the whole challenge. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And the reality is this, in this business, if you got into it to be the solo guy, awesome. A lot of this you can just use to enhance, but please hear me. Like, I'm not saying that everyone should run a business and be a real business owner. Some people are happy being self-employed. That's awesome. I also, knowing contractors for many years, most got into the business because they wanted to be a boss. They wanted to run a company and they wanted to have people helping them. And then they get frustrated because they don't know how to do it and it falls apart on them. And the only thing they seem to do is when they hire more people is they create more problems. So then they have to fire everybody, scale back, and then they're frustrated, they're burnt out, they get angry, they post negative comments towards everyone else who's trying to grow. They'll say, well, the best thing I ever did was fire everybody. Nobody wants to work, nobody can do anything, you have to do it all yourself. You show me that person and I'll show you someone who has a broken mentality because they are frustrated with themselves because they couldn't figure it out, and then they had an ego that got in the way. They didn't want to get help. They weren't willing to step out of their own comfort zone and say, damn, I really need to learn some things. There's just a lot about running a business that I had no idea, and I'm my own biggest problem. And the sooner that I get some help, boom, I can run a business. So anyway, that's me. I'll get off the soapbox. Wish you all the best. Thanks for being here. And that's day 53. Hopefully you took some screenshots. You can always watch it in the replay. And again, if you have any questions or want more discussion, check out the Remodelers Helping Remodelers Facebook group. Right, that is where a lot of things are right now. You'll get more insight there. And again, we have the paid groups. For those of you that want more, like we do actually do 2 calls a month. So you can get a lot more. You can watch what other people are doing in the country that are having success and achieving things. Like, it's crazy when you start seeing like a friend of yours that you met and all of a sudden you're like, damn, they just grew their business in 6 months. I've been trying that for a year and couldn't figure it out. That's the power of being within that group coaching dynamic, and they're all other fellow remodelers. And anyway, wish you guys all the best. Thanks for being here. Have a good one.